Have you been following the wrong advice?
You probably have been because there's a whole lot of BS out there.
It's true. So today we're doing some career myth busting.
That's right. We have found the most common career cliches, and we're going to tell you what's wrong with them and what you should be doing instead.
Let's get into it. All right, Kyle.
Yep.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into the myth. I have a myth for you, actually.
Oh.
You have to like your podcast co-host. Big myth.
HR. Round them up.
Big myth. Okay, so are we getting into the first one?
Yes, let's do it. So
Okay.
the first one is no one knows what they're doing. React.
This is the dumbest saying I've ever heard in my life.
That-
I hate when people say this.
Okay, that's fascinating because I don't feel that way.
One, no one knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's just factually incorrect
Why is that true?
because some people do know what they're doing. This whole saying is saying no one knows anything. I don't even know what the benefit of this phrase is supposed to be. But one, yeah, some people do know what they're doing.
Well, it's not like no one knows anything.
No one knows what they're doing.
But it's not anything.
That's what the quote is.
Okay.
So I just don't get the point of this quote. I think, one, experts are real, and some people do really know what they're doing, and they've worked really hard to get to the point where they know what they're doing. And I think to say, everyone knows the exact same about everything, no, they don't. Some people are experts. Two, I think it's so focused on, downside, oh, it's okay, no one knows what they're doing, so it's okay if you don't know what you're doing, instead of upside, which to me is you might not know exactly what you're doing right now, but you can figure it out. And that's where I think the phrase ought to go, is focusing on learning opportunities. To me, you say this when you want to bring other people down to your level, instead of being okay, there's things I don't know, there's other people I can learn from, and I'm really excited to learn. So I hate the phrase.
Yeah, this is spoken like somebody who's never felt imposter syndrome once in their life.
Come at me.
No, I think this is, I agree that the literal meaning of this, which is nobody has any thoughts in their brain, is probably inaccurate. But it's
Well, I don't think we need to say probably. I think the neuroscience is clear. People have thoughts.
Yes, people have thoughts in their brain, but I think it's not the message literally, it's the meaning behind it that I do agree with.
Okay.
Which is this idea that, yes, of course, some people are experts and some people are more experienced, but everyone does have these feelings of self-doubt. And so I think what this is trying to do is not to bring people down and say, everyone is like you, has no idea what the hell is going on. We're just bumbling idiots. And the fact that we've even figured out how to make a road and go from place to place is amazing.
I mean, straight up, I don't know how we make roads.
Right,
So
but
if someone does, please write in.
Modern miracles. But I think it's the meaning behind the message is people put on these fronts that they know exactly what's going on. They know exactly how to tackle any problem that comes their way. And that's confidence. That's a front that people are putting on. That doesn't mean that every single person knows exactly what they have to do next, is 100% confident in outcomes. There's it's a way to allow people to feel more comfortable admitting that they may not know what's going on.
Yeah. So, okay. I mean, I agree with that it's okay to not know everything that is going on or to be an instant expert on everything, and that there is an opportunity to grow and learn in your career and become an expert. I see what you're saying, but to me, when I hear that, it feels like it's like bringing other people down, or just saying oh, don't worry about it, we're all idiots. Well, no, we're not. And you're not either.
Right.
And I would rather have someone gain confidence, and I think that is a really key part, rather than say, no, everyone is not confident.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I do understand what you're saying. That being said, I think that as I've gotten more experience in my career and as I've aged a little bit more, I did this thing where I idolized everyone that was above me, and I thought oh my gosh, I'm the idiot. I don't know anything, and these people are so confident, they know everything, and I'm never gonna get there.
Yeah.
And it's so why even try at that point? Because the CEO is so well spoken and always is portraying this confidence. I don't know if we should do A or B. And I'm never going to know that.
Yeah.
So I think this is not a way to bring the CEO down to my level. Obviously, that person has more experience than me. They're the CEO.
Yeah.
But I think it's a way to be you got to keep trying. Nobody really knows what they're doing. And as I've gotten more advanced in my career, it's true. The more advanced type of meetings that I've been in with higher, ranking people that are making decisions, I'm like, oh, we're all just like arguing our thoughts and our experiences, but that doesn't mean we have to do A or B. And, you know, we're confident that A is the right way.
Yeah.
But this other person is confident B is the right way.
Who's to say?
Who's to say?
Yeah.
You know?
It's humanizing in a way.
Yeah.
And I do agree with that. Like, even as you get up in the ranks, there's still unknowns that people are navigating, experiments to run. You're not always going to be right all the time. I just do have a problem with, like, okay, say someone is the first day in their career and they're somehow in a meeting with the CEO of like $1 billion company, Tim Cook, for example. I'm not going to say like, yeah, neither know what they're doing. So like, let's flip a coin and go with the intern's idea.
Yes.
There is expertise. It's not to say they're always right. I just think that should have some weight to it. But I understand your point too. It is humanizing, and no, we're not all experts. And sometimes people that are a little more junior have a really brilliant idea or have an insight that is worth listening to as well. It reminds me of a quote from Kat Cole that I really like. That is like my version of this, which is, I don't know everything, but I'm confident I can figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think that to me is a really powerful framing for your career. I do want to touch on imposter syndrome just quickly because you mentioned that. And I do understand how this quote can be assuring or reassuring for someone who is going through imposter syndrome. And so I think that's like a strong argument in favor of like at least thinking about this and being able to humanize the experience of like, damn, I just got a promotion and like, I'm not sure I'm ready for this. I don't know exactly what I'm doing. And this can be like, it's okay. Other people get promoted and they're not sure exactly what they're doing. But it's that Kat Cole piece, but having the confidence you can figure it out, I think is so important.
Yeah, I agree. So I would say to myth bust.
Myth bust.
I would say that do not take this myth, this career cliche literally. Take it in like the spirit of everyone's figuring things out. Some people are more experts. Some people, you know, are newer, more green in their career, but that doesn't mean like the expert and the more junior person are identical in their knowledge and their ability to like navigate whatever problem. It's like we're all still figuring things out. It's that confidence that we know we can get to the right answer.
Yeah.
That is like, that's the end of that myth. So I'd say half busted.
Half busted the first myth. I love it. Should we move on to myth number 2?
Let's do it.
Okay. HR listeners, close your ears. HR is not your friend. We hear it often. Kayla, is it true or not?
I'd say it's true. I'd say it's true. So here's what it's yes with caveats.
Okay.
And so yes, HR is not your friend in that HR is hired by a company to protect the interests of the company.
Yeah. You know, we're never going to get Kate back on the show.
I know.
Now that we've said this.
Kate Noel, please come back. No, so what are the interests of the company? It's hiring the right people. It's reducing or increasing retention. It's getting the right people in the right positions, career growth, cultural, like having the company have a good culture.
Right.
It's company engagement. All of those things are aligned with an employee's incentives.
Experience for the most part.
For the most part. It's also, you know, reducing downside, preventing like liability risk.
Yep.
So when things go wrong, that's when HR kind of tends to come in.
And just a caveat there, in some ways that is protecting employees that aren't in the wrong.
Yeah.
Like if your company gets sued because you're doing something illegal and the company goes away, everyone who had a job is out of a job as well.
Right. Unless they were actually doing something.
Unless they were the one.
But then it's also on HR to be like, hey, let's not do those illegal things.
Yes.
So I think that, yes, HR is not your friend, and you should not be like telling HR like the bad things you're doing to like F over the company.
Yeah. You probably just shouldn't be doing those bad things either.
Correct.
But if you are,
don't tell HR.
Don't slack HR.
But the thing is at the best companies, I think the employee interest and the company interest are by and large aligned. So, for example, at Morning Brew, we were just talking about Kate. Kate is our SVP of people operations. She's the best. Like, she really makes sure that the company is engaged, that we have good culture. You know, there's that we're consistently striving to be a better company.
Yeah.
And so I would view Kate as a friend. But if I did something wrong, or if we were in a a fight of some kind with a
Yeah.
company, like she would take the side of the company. That's her job.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think by and large, you should treat HR as not your friend.
Yeah, if you were like getting laid off, she's not going to be like your personal lawyer.
No,
Like,
of course
that's
not.
not her role.
Yeah.
Like she is HR. So I agree. I would say HR is not your friend, but they're also not your enemy.
Yeah.
And it's the same way as like, is marketing your friend? Like, it is just a weird framing to say like, no, marketing's like not my like friends. Like we're colleagues. We're all striving for the same goals of the company, and when those are aligned, it makes sense. But I think breaking down a business unit by like friend or not friend is a little just weird framing. HR is there to like protect you in some cases, protect the company in some cases. And what I do think is why HR gets this reputation is I think a lot of HR departments are like underutilized, and employees or companies view them very much as like just protect the company instead of having this much more expansive mission, which is all the great things you mentioned early. And I think when HR is viewed as like a true business partner, then a lot of people have a better image of what HR is.
Right.
I think HR can be more effective in that capacity. And so I'd love for more companies to move in that direction. I mean, we see Kate here at Morning Brew, and she rocks and is like a big part of this business. And I think that helps you have a more accurate view of HR in general.
I agree. And I also think that sometimes this comes out when there is some kind of conflict between an employee and the company, and the employee expects HR to automatically be on their side. And I think that despite what we would want, which is, you know, maybe it's like a pay discrepancy or something like that, like HR may not be in a position to rectify that because they've been kind of hamstrung by the rest of the company. So we're not like, I'm not going to like shill for HR necessarily. I think it's very fair to treat them as a business unit and not as your friend.
Yeah.
That's just like good business sense, as you mentioned.
I mean, it's the same thing when we're like, hey, company is not a family. Everyone agrees with that. But then when HR doesn't act like your best friend or your like mom, you're like, what do you do in HR? Well, you just said we're not a family. We're a business.
Right.
Most of the time it's going to work out. And when it doesn't, they're going to protect the employer's interests. So yeah, I mean, HR is not your friend. They're not your enemy. They should be a trusted business partner and colleague as you go through your career. And yeah, if they send you a 4 p.m. meeting on a Friday, you know, like it's probably not to give you a raise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, who knows? It could-
You should probably still go to the meeting,
Yeah,
but
you should definitely go to
or just sprint out of there. Just pull a milkshake and start sprinting away.
It's funny. Good severance joke for those watching.
Yes.
So myth, I would say fact.
Okay.
HR
okay.
is not your friend. Do you agree?
I would, again, full quote, HR is not your friend, but they're not your enemy.
Yeah.
That I would say is true. HR is not your friends, like true, but you're missing some context. And Kate, Noelle, we love you very much. I want you to know that. Should we go to myth number 3?
I think we should.
Is it my turn to read the myth?
I think it's my turn.
It's your turn. All right, take it away.
Great. So myth number 3 is it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Oh, God, this is this one's gonna get the people going.
Okay.
I feel like. I would go, it's not a or, it's an and. I would say it's what you know and who you know.
So you just got to be good at all of it.
So you just got to be excellent at all of it. Yeah, just follow my lead. No. It just depends. Like this one's really hard for me to say black or white, yes or no. I do think it matters what you know because like that's important. We talked about this in the first myth. There are experts. Knowing stuff and knowing how to navigate situations, super important in your career. Obviously, becoming a domain expert, super important in your career. Obviously, to me, that's almost like table stakes. And if I was giving people advice on how to grow in their career, that part seems a little more obvious to me. Like, of course, you have to get good at what you're doing. The unobvious part, or the part I think is underrated, is it's who you know. Because in order to surface opportunities externally, maybe to find a new job, to get opportunities internally and to know what's going on or get promoted, it does come down a little bit to who you know and your relationship with those people. And I think you're doing yourself a disservice in your career if you think that just by being a domain expert, everything is going to take care of itself, because that isn't true. So they're both important. I would say that who you know is more underrated.
And we'll be right back after this. Okay, back to the show. Yeah, damn you for having a nuanced take on this one, because I really wanted to fight you on this.
You hate a gray answer. Should be black and white here.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. in most cases. I think we've talked about this in the past. We've had a few episodes talking about networking, talking about LinkedIn, and I don't enjoy networking very much, and therefore I don't do it very often.
Yeah.
But I think the who you know part is a little bit more expansive than maybe we would think it is. Like, again, I agree, knowing things is table stakes. Like, you have to be good at something, and then who you know can be that layer that gets you those great opportunities.
Yep.
And I think that who you know is not just like who's in my network. It's like who understands the experiences that I've had. So brand recognition, I think, is also very important. So 2, maybe 3 of my career jumps have happened not because I've known somebody, but because somebody has reached out to me knowing the brand that I work for.
Yeah.
So for example, I used to work at a tech research startup.
CB Insights.
And Alex Lieberman, formerly CEO of Morning Brew, really liked the newsletter that CB Insights produced. And so he would reach out to all of the editors like every few months. I'm sure I've told
like
the story.
The first DM, you feel really special, and then every single person in your department gets it, and you're like, damn.
Yeah. So my first DM from Alex was 3 days into my job at CB Insights. And I was like, wow, I really like Morning Brew too, but like, I just started here, And so basically what he was doing was using CB Insights' recruiting as like pre-vetting for his like funnel recruiting. So I think that when I were talking about it's not what you know, it's who you know, I think that stuff also is included there because I would have had no reason to reach out to or know Alex at all. But because he recognized, oh, the CB Insights editors like are kind of cool.
Yeah.
He's now employed 3 of us. Like, so he's been poaching left, right, and center. So
It's like the strategy where like Burger King just puts their restaurant next to a McDonald's. Like Alex is just like CB Insights. You do all the recruiting, all the hiring, and then I'm just gonna DM whoever you hire and poach them. Like, thank you for your service. I love the strategy. I think you bring up a good point. It's who you know, but also it's like who has the ability to get to know you.
And who knows you,
Yeah, and there's a few different ways in which you can do that. You could work at a company that has a great brand, or you could be out creating your own podcast, speaking on panels, putting yourself out there on social, and you just increase the odds of someone finding you and presenting you an opportunity that you wouldn't have otherwise. The last thing I want to talk about for this myth, another Kat Cole quote. I mean, we should just replace me with Kat Cole. I think she's a little busier and more important, but she had this great quote, which is, it's who you know and what they know about you. And I thought that was really powerful. I think a lot of times we think about networking in a very blanket way of just like, oh, a lot of people know roughly who I am. And that would say is like breadth, but the depth of the relationship matters too. And so if you're someone like yourself who just admittedly said, I don't really love networking, finding a few people that are, colleagues or friends, not in a super friendly way, but like, about their careers and going deep with them and like really understanding them. They really understand what you do at Morning Brew and your unique talents. I think that matters a lot as well, because when someone is like, oh, we need to hire a really great writer, they might know you, but if they don't know you're a really great writer, that opportunity is going to come to you. So it's important to focus, yes, on breadth, but the depth is also really important. And so I love that spin that Kat Cole has.
So in terms of busted, I'd say this is a busted myth. I'd say the full answer, or like the full advice is, it's what you know and who you know and what they know about you.
We just gave everyone so much homework. We're like, you're not doing enough. All right, I have a question for you though.
Okay.
If you had to pick one, domain expertise or like the deepest Rolodex known to man, which are you picking?
I think in a perfect world, domain expertise. In this world that we live in, Rolodex.
Yeah, I was going to say Rolodex too.
You could be pretty incompetent, and if somebody knows you, they'll get. We just talked about this in our nepotism.
Exactly.
Episode as well.
Nepotism proves it is who you know. So maybe the myth isn't busted.
The myth is fact.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in this society.
Okay, let's move on to myth number 4.
Let's do it.
I'm reading this one.
Yep.
Okay, Kayla.
Yeah.
I have some advice for you.
Great.
Listen in closely. Follow your passion, and you'll never work a day in your life.
Wrong. Wrong.
Break it down for us.
This pisses me off the most because this is such a uniquely millennial piece of advice. Like, nobody would have given you that advice before the millennial era, and nobody's given you that advice now.
Yeah, I don't think this was popular during, let's say, the Revolutionary War.
No, but even like boomers, it's like it was always expected. A job is a job,
Yeah.
right? And then Gen X started like taking it too seriously, right? They were like, whoa, if I work really hard, like people will like me and I'll get a bunch of money and I'll grow and I'll rise through the ranks. Wrong, no longer true. Right. And so then they still needed us to work our asses off. And they're like, this isn't working anymore. What should we do? Passion.
Who is the we?
I don't
the
know.
Illuminati in this case? The Illuminati's like, we must trick the millennials into continue working. Tell them if they follow their passions, they won't work a day in their life.
Well, no, it's because it's just the general consensus is like Gen X got jaded. They were working themselves to the bone at places that they didn't like because they were like, this is what you were supposed to do. This is the American dream. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to work my way up. But I don't give a damn about, I don't know, like accounting, And so then they were like, kids, gather around. You got to follow your passion, right? You like art, monetize it. You want to go do social entrepreneurship, give free shoes to everyone in the Amazon. And it's not true because what happens is you follow your passion, you monetize your passion, and then what happens? Your passion becomes work and you fall out of love with your passion. I don't know why you're laughing so hard.
I love this. That's a top 1 rant of all time on Perma Last Email. And I say rant in the most loving, respectful way.
No, I'd say it was a rant. That's fine.
You presented a great argument there.
Thank you.
I love it. I'm going to just pick the other side.
Sure.
Just to do it, as a white cis man, we have to play devil's advocate all the time. I would say there's a truth here though, which is like, okay, you're going to have to work unless you're a Nepo baby or you inherit $1 billion. And if you do, please email us at permalastemail.com.
We'd love to.
We have some investment opportunities for you. So to me, it's like, if you're going to have to work, you have 2 options. Do you love it or do you not love it? And to me, why wouldn't you want to love your work? And I do think I wouldn't say follow your passion because it insinuates that there's only one passion you have and you can discover your passion prior to working and then follow it. But I would say following a passion or being curious about a passion and seeing where that leads you is generally good advice. And if you do or are fortunate enough to have a job that you like, that you are excited to wake up and chase it, God, that's a blessing. And I do think that's a really semi-true quote is if you like your job, it won't feel as much like work or work defined as shitty, slogging through, terrible. And it'll be more I'm excited. Yeah, it's hard, but so is running a marathon, but there's a joy in that friction and that difficulty. So I don't think it's as BS as people say.
No, it's BS.
I will say the thing I think is really true is I don't think you can know what your passions are before actually trying them. And so just believing you have this passion and then it's all going to work out following and you don't need to do any other thinking, I think that is incorrect. But I think there's some truth to this one.
Yeah, no, I still disagree. I mean, I think that liking your job is a very different thing than follow your passion and you won't work a day in your life.
Yeah.
It makes it seem first you need to have a passion. And second, if you enjoy it, you're not going to have a hard time. Everything is going to be easy and it's going to be so fun, which I also think is setting high expectations and probably why millennials and some Gen Z feel very disillusioned with work right now because they're like, well, I'm doing what I like. Why is this so hard still?
Okay.
And so I think there's this yes, you should like your work. And I think that makes the at least 9 to 5 of your life so much more enjoyable.
Yeah.
But I also think that this idea that if you aren't following your passion, that you're somehow failing and you're not fulfilling your full potential because you're working in a job that you don't love. I think that's also misguided because it is at the end of the day just work.
Yeah.
But I agree, you should like it.
Well, so I agree with everything you're saying, and I'm not saying your job has to be your passion. I'm just saying if you found a job that also is your passion, that sounds kind of nice to me. And so I think it's about defining what work is to you. You just said the phrase, quote, it's just work. I think that's a fine mindset to have. I don't think it's the only mindset you can have. And for people that want work to be more expansive in their life and to feel truly like they're really passionate about this. Maybe you're starting a company. I hope you're pretty passionate about that. Otherwise, like the person that's more passionate is going to put in more effort and get more enjoyment and not burn out and probably like, beat your company. So I just don't think there's only one way to view career. And I think, so there's something true and false about this quote. Scott Galloway has this quote where he was like, don't follow your passion, like follow what will make you money. And again, I think that just goes back to like defining what you want to get out of your career. If your goal at work is, I want to make the most money possible, it might not be perfectly coincided with your passion of like knitting or something like that. But it also might be. So I would just say like define what you want to get out of work. I think give yourself the opportunity to believe that your work can be enjoyable and it can be a passion, but it doesn't need to be. And I think you'll be better off that way.
I do agree with that point. I think Scott Galloway is, it's also saying something to make like
of course.
But there's that concept, and again, I feel like such a like podcast bro bringing this up because like who
Ikagi.
has Ikigai or whatever, which is like
any podcast that goes on long enough, a Japanese term will come.
I know, and I feel
somehow.
like so dumb saying this, but I think it's probably pretty relevant here, which is like what you love, what you're good at, and what makes you money.
Yeah.
I actually don't think that's what that means. I think it's like a variety of different things, like slightly more nuanced, but that's like the general idea. Is like, yeah, find something that's that combination. But I do think there's this idea that if you won't work a day in your life if you follow your passion. I think that's just bullshit because it's not true. You won't work.
You will work. Like you'll still be working.
Yeah, and the chances are that, if you really love to cook, you don't have to like jar a sauce and sell it and have that be what, if you don't jar enough sauces, you don't make rent. Like that's allowed to be a hobby. So I think this idea is like very like millennial. And so I would call this busted.
Yes, I agree. It's busted.
Yeah.
I think there's more nuance to it. The last thing I will say is I do think you will be more effective, stay in your job longer, be generally happier if you like your job. And so I think this idea of being like, well, don't follow your passion, like it's just a job or it's just work and work is supposed to be miserable. I hate that.
Yeah.
And I think this is like work is supposed to be miserable coded a little bit where it's like, yeah, don't follow your passion. Like it'll ruin it. Like work ruins everything. I just hate that. I would like to be more optimistic that there's some work that you can be excited about.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And as a decidedly not optimistic person, I enjoy my job. Like I have a good time. And like, I don't really think it's like, I don't even know if I have a passion outside of any whatever. Well, that's
your passion is podcasting, Kayla.
My passion is podcast. That's why I mentioned Ikigai.
Yeah.
But no, I think I agree with you. I think it doesn't necessarily mean like work is just work and you should hate your job and that's just like life.
Yeah.
I think there's a happy medium there.
Yeah. All right. Well, I love it. We've come to a great compromise. Yeah. Well done. Should we go into the last myth?
Yes, last one. This is mine, I believe.
Okay.
So, you should do the responsibilities before getting the promotion.
Yeah, that's true. My response is, duh.
Say more about that.
Obviously, like no one's going to be like, hey, I'm going to promote you. I have no confidence you can do it. You've shown me none of the ability to do the task I'm about to assign you, but like, good luck.
No, that's not. This is dumb. Okay, continue.
The promotions I have seen or received in my life is like you have a job, the business unit is growing, or you get really good at your task and you start taking on a little more responsibilities. You start demonstrating your ability to see a broader scope of the business. You're proving out impact. And then you've de-risked getting promoted because you're kind of already doing the job. And so then they give you the promotion. I do think it's like the chicken comes before the egg. It's not this like which one comes first. To me, it's very clear that the responsibilities of a new job would come first, and then you would get the promotion or the formal comp increase, title increase. I would say like don't wait forever. Like if your company's like, exploiting you in this way of saying, oh, and a promotion's coming, keep doing this new task. If it's been a year, yeah, that's too long. But I just don't think you're going to get a promotion without doing some of the responsibilities of that job first.
I think some of the responsibilities. I agree. But I think, where the problem is when there's no communication about this.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm just going to start doing more and more. And then instead of being like, I expect a promotion because I'm doing the job of the promoted title, it's like, oh, wow, Kayla's doing a lot more. Like, that's great. at her current level. Like, let's give her more stuff.
Yeah.
Like, this is perfect. Like, she's not even asking to be promoted. You know, and so I think that you can fall into this trap of like, I just want to do more and I want to prove myself and then I'll get the promotion when that hasn't been expressly like discussed with you. And then you burn out because you're like, well, I'm doing all this stuff and nobody's recognizing it.
Yeah.
And so for me, I think that yes, within reason, you should take on or try to take on some responsibilities before you get promoted. But I think it should be in the context of, I'm giving you a free trial of what I can do. And so
a 7-day free trial.
7-day free trial.
Your credit card will be charged on the 8th day.
Exactly. And so like, I think that when you're talking about this, it's very important to have that context because then this is where like bitterness kind of develops.
Yes.
And so I would say, I really want to get promoted to director. This is, you know, something that we went through last 2 years ago. I really want to get promoted to director. So I'm going to start doing X, Y, and Z with the expectation that that'll prove to you that I'm ready for this role. And I think once you have that discussion, then it de-risks taking on more tasks a little bit. There's still a chance that they could fuck you over, but like at least you've had that discussion.
Yeah.
Versus like, well, I'm doing all these things. They never asked me to do them, but I'm like doing them. That's when I think it becomes a problem.
I think you nailed it. Like, I totally agree with what you're saying. And I'm not saying like this is the way the world should be. I'm just saying in most cases, I do think, and if I was giving career advice, like how is this going to play out for you? You're going to have to do more responsibilities before the promotion's like a lagging indicator of the responsibilities that you're doing.
He said lagging for anyone who doesn't understand the Minnesota
my Minnesota accent. Apologies. Shout out to the Midwest. And so like that, but I think your like tactical advice is spot on, which is like, because you are going to do some of the responsibilities before you get the promotion, you better have a damn good plan about how you're articulating that fact. Like, hey, I really want to become a director. Right now in my JD, it says do this. A director's responsibilities are here. I'm already doing that. And here's how I'm doing it effectively. Here's when I would expect to get promoted, and have that conversation early and often with your manager. So I'm not saying like, don't advocate for yourself. They're going to give it. I'm saying actually the opposite. Like, they're unlikely to give you a promotion unless you're advocating for it. But part of that advocacy is you taking on a little bit more responsibility before you have the title. If you're waiting around to get the title before doing the responsibilities, I just think you're going to be waiting for a long time.
Okay, so that feels like that myth was true.
All right. Fun way to end.
Perfect.
Everyone do more work.
Advocate for yourself and don't follow your passions.
Okay, well, we busted a lot of myths. We proved some right. I don't know if we're getting sued by Mythbusters.
Who knows?
All press
publishing any.
All press is good press. That's what I keep telling our lawyer here at Morning Green. yeah. We'll see how it works out. Should we roll the credits?
I think we should.
Okay. Our producer is Michaela Heck.
Our technical director is Uchenna O.
Perrin Rowe is a senior story producer.
And our president is Kevin Emery.
This show is a production of Morning Brew.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Go bust some myths, y'all.